Hey guys, Chronos of Tech here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about SearchSploit and how to use it within Kali Linux. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to sudo into the root user so we have access to everything. Then what we'll do is we'll say SearchSploit for FTP, for example. So we'll do SearchSploit for the service of FTP. Or better yet, let me show you a real world example. So recently I was on Hack the Box and I was doing different boxes. So we'll look into lame, change directory to lame, which is the first box of the retired boxes. And I should have an nmap in here. So there it is. So lamescan.nmap. Wait, oh sorry, I forgot to put cap. So that's lamescan.nmap. Oops. Alright, so there was the initial nmap results. When I use nmap, I usually use save scripts, sc, version, which is sv, and then I output to the lamescan, and this is the IP address. So what came up is we had a FTP, open FTP, anonymous login allowed. This is not a Hack the Box tutorial, but I'm just giving you guys a few examples that we could use SearchSploit for. Open SSH, and this is the version. Port 139 was open, which is a NetBIOS and Samba SMB on the same network, which we could enumerate for usernames and different shares. And then there's port 445, which is also NetBIOS and SMB. And then we also have some SMB discovery, computer name, the OS, which is a Linux, NetBIOS, domain, and domain name, which is hackthebox.gr. Okay, so how would you SearchSploit in this situation? We can use it for many things, but what we'll do, it will say, okay, we want to see if there's an exploit. Assuming that we already enumerated and we logged into FTP and things like that, we would want to see if there's an exploit for this version of FTP where we could potentially exploit. So what we'll do is we'll save the version. So we'll copy it. And then we'll go down and we'll say SearchSploit. And SearchSploit, just to show you what it is. And let me actually do the manual. So manual SearchSploit. So basically it's an exploit database, and it exploits from exploit.db, right? Which is a, let me go to exploit.db real quick so I can actually show you guys what's up. So exploit.db, right? Which is an exploit database basically. So this is what it looks like. It's a spider on the top, and then there's a bunch of exploits in here. Right, and you can scroll down or you can look at shell codes and things like that, but these are basically the exploits, right? So they have a bunch of exploits, right? You can also search for exploits, right up here. So this is the database that you're actually looking from when you're in Kali Linux. So we're searching through that database, right? It gives us a couple of options on how to use it, things like that. So now if I do SearchSploit and I show help, you can actually have a more in-depth way of how to use it for different exploits. Okay, so now we can actually search, right? SearchSploit, which is searching the exploit database, exploit.db, and we can say FTP, and we can paste in the version. And then it's going to search the database, and it comes up with two different exploits for the version. So there's a backdoor command execution with Metasploit, which could give us a shell, or backdoor command execution doing it through Python, right? So if we do it through Metasploit, then what we would do is we would possibly split this vertically. And then we would say sudo su, right? Wait, and then we'll go sudo su. So some reason my password isn't working. I'm not sure why. Try one more time. Okay, there we go. So then I'll go to MSF console. My voice is like not working today. So I'm gonna log into MSF console. Takes a couple seconds to load, and I'm basically going to use this exploit. I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to show you guys exactly how you would use it in this situation where you're playing Hack the Box. You find the FTPs open, you search for the version, there's an exploit for it. This is how you would use it in Metasploit. And Metasploit is great because there's a Meterpreter session, which is a very strong shell, and it can stay on the remote server. It's very stable. And you can also do things like TC dump and things like that on the Meterpreter shell. So now we're in Metasploit. So what we'll do is we'll search this version, right? So we'll take this version. We should already have it copied, and we'll say search FTP, and we'll put in the version, right? And then here's the exploit for it, and it's a backdoor command execution, which is exactly what we searched. And then what we'll do is we'll say use 0, which is the number right here. And then now we're in, so we'll say options. Then it will show us the options that we need to put in. So we need to put in the R host. In this case, the lame R host was 10.10.10.3. Wait, that's a 0. 10.10.10.3. All right, so now we're in, or not, we're not in yet, but then we go options again, just to see if we have everything set up. Yeah, we got the R port set up, which is 21. The R host was not set up, so let's do options again. And let's scroll up. No, it's still not set up. So then we say set R host to 10.10.10.3, right? And then we say options again. And then we'll see it there. So now we know, okay, it's targeting that host. And then we'll basically say use exploit, right? Or we could say run, right? And then it would run the exploit, and we would potentially get a Meterpreter session, right? If we're playing Hack the Box, and then we would shell it and escalate privileges if we have to and capture the flag. Another way to do this, so that's Metasploit, which is possibly the easiest way to do it. Another way to do it is to do it through Python. So you see this is .py, which means it's Python. So what you would do, and I said this in my previous video, but basically what you would do is you would copy the exploit, the path of the exploit, and then you would say SearchSploit, and you would copy it to your database. So you say SearchSploit -m, which means that they're going to copy it to the directory that you're in, which is lame. And then you're going to paste the path, and then it's going to say copy to lame, and this is the exploit right here. And if you ls, you'll see the exploit here. And then what you could do is you could say, okay, nano, and I explained what nano is in my last video. If you guys haven't seen it, go see my last video. So we'll say nano, and then we would paste this in. And then now it's going to show us the exploit. So this exploit is a backdoor command execution, blah, blah, blah. Then you would look to see if you need to edit the exploit anywhere, right? So we'll go down, we'll say, okay, they're importing. Okay, here's a function here. If you guys know Python, def means a function. So we're looking down, parser, args, host, yeah, port, you don't need to change anything. Okay, we don't need to change anything, right? We're looking for things that we need to change, right? So we don't see, okay, we don't need to change anything. Okay, so in that case, if we don't need to edit it, then we're just going to exit. So we're going to press Control X to exit, and then basically we'll say Python, and then we would put an exploit, and then we'll basically run the exploit and get a backdoor command execution that way. So there's two ways to do it. You can either do it through the system if you see an exploit here, or you can do it through Metasploit if there's a Metasploit exploit. If you're going in between these two, I always recommend that you go with a Metasploit exploit, because Metasploit is just a lot easier to operate and to control. It's a lot more user friendly. And there's also a Meterpreter shell which is dropped, which is probably one of the best shells that you can get on a remote system. So I would definitely say go with Metasploit, but that's essentially how you use SearchSploit. I mean, we can do another example. We can actually do another example. Let me just remove this. I don't want it here, and then we'll look at we'll cat lame scan again. Look at what we have. So we have we also have OpenSSH, and we also have Samba. So let's look at Samba SMD because that might be the easiest one. So say Samba SMD 3.0.20. Okay, so this is the version, and so then we'll say SearchSploit, and then we'll say SMB, and paste it. Whoop. All right, so paste it. And then now we see a bunch of exploits, okay? And again, we see a Metasploit exploit right here. Username Matt script command execution from Metasploit, okay? So we'd probably go with this one first, see if it works. If it doesn't, then we'd probably be looking at maybe the HTML or some of these text versions. And then another thing you can do with SearchSploit is you can actually, so let's say I want to take a look at the first one, but I didn't want to copy it into my directory. I want to just take a look at it. You can do SearchSploit -x, and then you can paste it in. And that way you can view it without actually downloading it into your system. Okay, and then as you see here, you know, it's a phishing attack vulnerability. Right, so probably not something that we want to use, so we're going to quit out of there, and then you can go through the different ones, right? So this is again web apps. You can copy this, SearchSploit -x, and paste it in. And again, it's almost the same thing. It's for phishing attacks, etc., etc. So you probably don't want to use any of the text versions. Let me quit out of here. Probably don't want to use any of the text versions for sure. So maybe look at the HTML version. Let's see what the HTML is about. So we're going to copy. We'll go SearchSploit -x. So the -x command could be a very good command, so that way you can see different exploits without downloading them. So so this is a replacement of a DOS. So this is the exploit. This is the function of the exploit. Okay. So that way you can take a look at different exploits and you can see, you know, which one you want to use. And then, as I said before, you can download it with -m. Okay. And then you can use the exploit from there. And you can search any exploit. You know, if I want to search OpenSSH, you know, I can SearchSploit OpenSSH, right, and then whatever version it is, and then again it's going to tell us all the exploits out of the system of what works for OpenSSH. And then as you see, we see a lot of PyCharms, you see a couple of texts, you know, and then we see a remote command execution, which looks interesting for SFTP. So you know, so that's basically how you use SearchSploit. It's actually a really good tool for after you enumerate. So you got to remember that if I pull up the nmaps, if I pull up the nmap result again, then before you're exploiting these, you always want to enumerate. Okay, so you'd want to log into FTP and see if there's anything on FTP. Maybe you can download something off of a Python HTTP server, or maybe use curl or wget to get some of the information if you find something in there. You know, for OpenSSH, you know, same thing, you want to enumerate. Samba, you want to enumerate, you know, you want to do SMB client, see if you can get some more information, maybe a username, maybe a banner, you know, something like that. The more information you get, the easier the exploit will be. So you don't just want to jump to SearchSploit as soon as you open up a box and say, you know what, hey, can I SearchSploit any of these ports? But you want to start to enumerate, see how much information you can find, and then exploit afterwards, after you've gotten as much information as possible. So that's basically how you use SearchSploit. It's a very, very, very good tool for Kali Linux, and that's basically how you use SearchSploit. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm out.